Hello everybody, welcome back. Darren Starr here, episode 3 of Technique Critique. Now I have learned my lesson. I am now wearing a 3/4 length sleeve so as not to offend any of the sensibilities of some of the more delicate members in the comment section who apparently have never seen a bodybuilding related video on YouTube and can't handle the sight of someone in a tank top. So episode 4 will probably see me in a jacket. Episode 5 I might be in a parka with a hood. And then episode 6 I might just do off camera entirely. Again, I certainly don't want to offend anybody. So this is the series where we will break down videos from clients of mine that they have sent me for review. I've already given these clients feedback talking about their videos here with their permission. So we'll break down everything. Got a handful to look through today, including some before and afters where I gave people feedback. We're going to look at what they sent me that prompted that feedback. And then we're going to look at their revision afterwards and see how they did as far as improvements, maybe something still to work on, way better. We shall see. As always, if you are new here, subscribe to the channel. Welcome. It's great to have you here. You can like the video, leave a comment. I am playing the algorithm game here. So the more feedback engagement that I get on these videos, the better off it's going to be, and it keeps my mojo flowing so that I come back for another episode and another and another and another. So if you have ideas for other things that you'd like to see on this channel, I'm all ears. I have ideas myself, but if a few people get on board behind an idea, that will help me out a ton as well. Let's get into it, shall we? So over here, let's see, am I recording? I am recording. Okay, I'm hoping this works. By the way, episode 2, I had to record that episode 3 times in order to get it to actually come out correctly in the end. So here's hoping I can get this one on the first try. Fingers crossed. So what do we have here? We have Jade, who we have seen featured in these videos before. She is here in the Smith machine doing a little bit of a shoulder press. So this is the before. This is her first attempt here. Well, not first attempt, but the first version that I saw that she sent to me. And what I said here is, don't go so deep. So she's using this short back chair here, which I like, which gives her a little bit of like forward and back sway. You can be seated a little bit more forward in the Smith machine here, where to the point where you would just drop the bar on your head. So you lean back, you're not in a high back chair or bench, so you still get a little bit of support, but you've got the ability to move your torso forward and back. It's all about the range of motion here. So a good shoulder press, you go until you're, roughly more or less parallel to the ground right here, a little bit deeper. Usually I say the bar somewhere around nose to chin level in that range is where you want to be. So you come down here, you get to a point of passive insufficiency, and you've got to engage other muscles in order to get the bar out of that hole. So for me, it's like, yeah, it looks great, but it's more range of motion that is useful. So what I told her is limit that range of motion, don't go down so deep. And then at the top, I can't recall what she's doing here. Let me skip ahead. Yeah, so she's going to, pretty much full lockout at the top. 2 schools of thought here. The first one being that if you go to full lockout and hold it there, that's really excellent for strengthening your rotator cuff. And so if you have shoulders that are maybe a little bit iffy, that's a great way to get a little bit of extra boost outside of just doing like, internal, external rotation work or other banded exercises as part of your warm-up. You can actually get some rotator cuff strengthening built into your exercises here and get that lockout in. For bodybuilding purposes, if you have good shoulders, you'll get better results over time by avoiding that lockout and keeping that tension on the muscle. So you go all the way up, just avoiding that lockout. You can see like, the elbow isn't locked out, that's locked out. If you stop here and then come back down, keep that bar always moving. So you never get a chance to let the delt rest. It's constant tension on it throughout the whole rep. Perfecto. It also, I could see on these last reps here, it was getting a little, like she's putting a little bit of English on it there. You just got to be careful because you could like tweak a back or, tweak your neck or something. So always just try and keep yourself like nice and straight. Don't let yourself go side to side like that or anything. So let's take a look at the revised attempt here. We're back in the same Smith machine, shortened up range of motion a little bit, and let's see what it looks like. So skipping ahead here just a little bit. Boom. There we go. Still doing the lockout at the top. That is optional, totally. And so I didn't tell her not to do that. But you keep that range of motion a little bit more limited. This is all delt, so she's not having to work in any traps. She doesn't have to over-engage the lats or the pecs to get out of the bottom or anything like that. This is all delt. So this is a fantastic range of motion here. And her comment on this, I don't remember exactly what she said, but it was something along the lines of, holy shit, yeah, what a difference. Like, it doesn't feel like I'm struggling so much, it feels like I'm working. Like, struggle is good, but if you're struggling to perform the exercise, that's not what we want. What we want is to struggle to get that extra rep. So it's got to be the right kind of struggle, realistically. So that is fantastic. Love everything about that. Really, really good. Let's go now to Michelle, who is doing I like this just because of it's creative, it's a modification. So she was supposed to be doing a wide grip pull down here. People were occupying all of the pull down stations. She couldn't do it. So she's like, fine, I'm going to go over into what I call this the mini cross here. There's a couple of live fitness stations like this at one of the gyms that I go to. Free motion dual cross is kind of the same thing. This is a pre-core where it's a cable crossover station, but it's compacted. So it's a mini cross. So I will put I will write mini in my logbook if I'm using this thing. So what she's trying to get is a wide grip pull down here. It might have been actually calling for a neutral grip pull down, which makes this even more appropriate. I did this movement the other day on, it's that Life Fitness pull down machine, but it's the one that has the two cables up at the top that you clip into. And if you're going to do just like a wide bar pull down, it has to be the special bar that has the two clip holes on it. So I just put single handles like these on there instead and just did it, and it allows me a little bit more flexibility with the wrists. I can play around with keeping it a little bit wider, or I can keep it a little bit more to the front, a little bit more narrow. So same thing here. And the dumbbell for a seat is just the icing on the cake. You could, of course, just do this kneeling or just sit on your butt if you want to, but this is probably a little bit more, ideal, maybe a little bit easier to get set up. So overall, I love the mechanics here. I didn't really have a lot of things for her to change on this. I just liked the creativity of the movement. I thought it worked really well. And her movement path looks good. You can see the lats are engaged, just always on a vertical pull or a horizontal pull for that matter. You always want to keep the back arch, chest up a little bit, keep it lifted here. But she's doing a good job of that. It drops just a little bit here and there, but you can see she still has the lat engagement. So I don't really have any problems with that. There, it dropped down just a little bit more. You can actually see the fatigue setting in, which is a good sign. It's impossible to execute a good set and not have some signs of that. Like that rep right there was also starting to hunch down just a little bit. You can see it starting to take over there, which is great. And so that's going to happen, and you probably don't even recognize that it's happening. One of the really useful things about recording video is it lets you see stuff that you're not aware of when you're performing a set. Like if I were to tell Michelle, hey, don't watch, don't drop your chest on that movement, you're kind of hunching forward a little bit. She could very rightfully say I didn't feel like that was happening at all. And then you watch the video back. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I'm like, man, the depth on that set was great. And I go back and watch the video that I recorded and the depth was dog shit. Oh no, it wasn't great. Things feel different in the moment when you're managing weight, whether it's on your back, whether you're pulling it or whatever, everything feels different than it looks. But how it looks ultimately, I'm not going to say that it's the most important thing, but it is a factor. And so you will also see things by watching your videos back that you didn't feel in the moment because you were busy focusing on, moving the weight, handling it, pushing through to get that last rep, telling your brain to shut up, that you don't want to quit a rep early. You got a lot of things on your mind during a set, so it's easy to miss some things like this. So it's useful to watch this stuff back. But generally, I like this. I just tell her yeah, keep that chest up. She was probably trying to. It's just a sign where if you can't do that, then maybe you just, drop the weight one notch, just try and arch the back a little bit harder. Or maybe it's just a question of, okay, cool, let me just try a little bit harder at the same weight and see if I can keep that arched. Maybe you notice your range of motion starts to drop a little bit, you really keep that rule in mind, don't drop the chest, keep the back arched, and you realize you just hit total muscle failure. Okay, cool, that's great. How close to the rep target were you? If you hit that failure on rep 6 or 7 and the target was 12 to 15, a little too heavy. So drop the weight down, keep that same rule in mind, and try to hit it on the next set. Next up, we have Michael, who is going to hit a tricep superset for us. So triceps are a funny thing for me. I'm not one to toot my own horn. I have pretty good triceps. I could show you if I was in a tank top right now, but we can't do that. So Now, a lot of that is just, genetics. It's not like I'm amazing at working out my triceps. It's like, I mean, I'm working pretty hard, but also a lot of it is just genetics too. That being said, I feel a really good connection to triceps when I train them. And so I know what works for me, and I want other people to try that stuff as well. So what I told Michael here is, this is great. There's nothing wrong with this. Now, let's try something a little bit different and see how it works. So you can see like here, he's not getting a lot of, like, I would call this front to back flexion. Like his hands aren't really coming out in front so much as he's kind of letting the elbows come out, and everything's happening a little bit more in, kind of like this, as opposed to way out in front of him. So one thing that I would have him do on both of these exercises, and I would have somebody do this if it was a V-bar, if it was a rope press down, any kind of bilateral tricep extension movement where you've got both arms working together. What I would always encourage people to do, and you can see what Michael's doing here, is he's kind of pulling the bar into his legs. And what I would encourage him to do instead is to pull the bar down towards the ground about 6 to 8 inches in front of his toes. Like, aim for that. And so you're here, instead of like bringing the bar right down to your legs, you're like aiming out in front of you a little bit. And it's gonna have your elbows a little bit more forward in front of the body. I also, like on these movements, I like to go relatively light. I really do. And get to a point where it's like, man, I can squeeze the triceps so hard they feel like they're about to cramp up and just rip off the bone completely. Once I get to that stage, and that will usually be a warm-up set, I might do another 1 to 2 warm-up sets on, like, if I'm gonna do a few movements at a station like this, which I often do for triceps. I might do a few warm-up sets with that in mind, and then say, okay, now let's go heavier, but let's keep that cramp up, rip off the bone feeling going on. And so you force yourself to slow down, really squeeze, really get that full range of motion on every rep. So again, is there anything wrong with this? No, certainly not. This looks great, but always, look to try a variation on an exercise to see if you can bring that extra little something to really hammer the point home more. So for these, I always like to keep the movement out in front of me just a little bit more. Elbows forward, aim for that spot on the ground in front of you. Here we have Tobin. Tobin is gonna hit some curl action for us here. And I wanted to include these just because they are freaking awesome hammer curls. They kick ass. So his form is super, super tight. Tobin competed about 8-10 weeks ago. This is an older video from about 2 to 3 weeks post-show, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. So you can see, like, he's not really using any of his body outside of the bicep. Like, everything is super, super rigid. He's not exploding up. You can see, like, the bicep is contracting with tension. Probably not much of a squeeze happening at the top. On a hammer curl, there isn't a lot of room for that, just because the size of the dumbbell kind of restricts your range of motion a little bit here. But also, like, a super controlled negative. And you can see also, like, how much is his form breaking down as this set goes on. I mean, it's really not. Like, these reps, you can tell like they're getting hard. You can tell like he's getting just a little swingy there at the end, but man, it's pretty tight. Like, I deduct no points for that. It goes back to what I said in a previous episode. If your last rep looks exactly like your first rep, chances are you're not working hard enough. Like, there needs to be a little bit of deterioration of form in order to really like prove that you're working hard enough. I mean, your last rep should not look textbook perfect. It should look pretty good, and it should be pretty recognizable as being the same exercise. Like, if I have seen it happen many times where your form deteriorates over the course of a set, where your last rep doesn't look like the same exercise as the first rep was. That you don't want. Also, if you start in a position where your first rep is pretty ugly already, you're just going too heavy. So your first rep should always be super, super clean, pristine, perfect. And then they should deteriorate to pretty dang good, or pretty okay-ish by the end at worst. These look awesome. Like, his last reps, I think, would be acceptable as first reps for a lot of people. If we fast forward back here and just watch the end of this set, yeah, and it's just the littlest bit swingy, not bad at all. So I like that. I'm gonna take that. Yep, absolutely. Okay, last up today, we have Leigha, and we're gonna do a before and after on this movement as well. And I wanted to include this for a couple of reasons. First is that, it shows she's working really hard, and sometimes the equipment works against you a little bit. Also, when Leigha gave me permission to use her videos, she said, make sure you let me know whenever you use any so I can tell my mom, because my mom will really want to see them. So hi to Leia's mom. Thank you for watching. So we're doing a reverse cable fly here. So rear delt, the thing about a rear delt is if your rear delts are massive, they're still small. That's the real problem here. It's a small muscle regardless of how well developed it is. So it doesn't have a lot of force output. You're not going to go super heavy on a movement like this. And I've seen people like on the reverse pec deck, for example, they will use a bunch of weight, and lo and behold, it's not a rear delt exercise anymore. They've turned it into a trap exercise. So, your rear delts can only do so much work. And if you're trying to train your traps, hey, great. Most people get on the reverse pec deck though for rear delts, and past a certain point, and that point's different for everybody on every machine, but at some point it's not a rear delt exercise anymore. You also need to watch your range of motion on that. We're doing a cable variation here. So let's watch and see what the issue here. This video is clipped from beginning to end, so it's only 18 seconds long, so it'll repeat a few times here. Now you can see it's not bad. It's not bad, but you can see right there, like, look at how high this left shoulder has risen here. Like the trap is pulling that shoulder back. So a good rear delt fly, if this shoulder is more forward right now, it's going to stay forward as the shoulder abducts like that. So when you get this going on, like this is a lot of trap. Now the problem here is, through no fault of Leigha, but it's the fact that a lot of equipment just sucks and it's not really built for this exercise. I like to program it anyway because a lot of equipment is, but the problem is, like, a lot of these cable stacks just don't go light enough for a lot of people, especially women, to do exercises like this on a muscle group that is pretty weak and has a low output. Again, you've got really strong rear delts, still one of the weakest muscles in your body. So it's just not going to move a lot of weight. And so a lot of these weight stacks, they start at like 10 pounds, maybe the lowest thing is 20 pounds. It's like you've got no pin in the stack and you still can barely move it, or you've got to like swing and use a lot of momentum like this. So is this exercise worthless done like this? No, certainly not. Like, she's still working the rear delt. She's just working more trap than anything else. And one thing I always tell Leigha, and she says this a lot in her check-ins, is like, my back day wasn't really engaged all that much, blah, blah. She struggles with it a little bit. But her back is like one of her strengths. So sometimes your back just takes over on other exercises. Not a common problem to have, but I think that's something that she experiences a bit, and you can kind of see it happening here. So I said, let's try a couple different variations. I think I said, like, let's try a dumbbell variation instead, just because you're going to be able to not fight against a cable stack in that way. And so what she did, she took a flyer and did something else instead. So here's what she came up with. So she wanted to do just a band version of it. The problem is, it's the same issue, same flavor, or different flavor of the same problem. So you can see, like, that shoulder is still coming back, that trap is still engaged, the rear delt's doing some work, but it's still not getting the brunt of it. The problem here is that the elasticity curve on the cable, or on the band, the elasticity curve on the band is really the limiting factor here. All right, I had to go grab a piece of tubing band from the garage. I haven't used this in probably a year, so here's hoping it doesn't snap on my face. If it does, at least I'm recording this. Make for a great blooper reel. So the problem here, you can see she's kind of choked up on it. Now this band's a little bit heavier than what she's using there. So if you're going to try this, you want to start with a nice, like the lightest band you can find here. So that's not what this is, but just for demonstration purposes. If you grab here and you kind of choke up on it, it just doesn't have a lot of give. There's not a lot of give. So the elasticity on this is measured over its length. So if you were to grab the full length of it, suddenly you can stretch it quite a bit. The problem is, this might be too much range of motion. So now you've got to accommodate, like, okay, I only need this much of it to get the proper range of motion, but now I don't have enough elasticity because there's less length of the band. So it becomes an issue where it can be just impossible to find the right band that has the right elasticity curve and the right length of band here as well. Like, it's probably just not realistically the right choice of equipment for this move. Now, I do see a TRX behind her there. And so what I didn't notice this before, but what I might recommend is doing some reverse flies using the TRX. I mean, dumbbells would still be a valid option. Reverse pec deck would still be a valid option. Oftentimes that can be a difficult piece of equipment to get onto if you're there at peak hours. So, but the TRX doing a reverse fly there, the cool thing there is you can adjust how difficult that is in the TRX based on your foot positioning. So if you like go all the way back, so your feet are way out in front, you're kind of under it. And you know, it's like, you're like this and you're gonna do a reverse fly like that. You know, if you are pretty much horizontal when you start that movement, that's gonna be impossible. If you're pretty much upright or close to it at the start of that movement, just leaning back a little bit, so you just walk your feet back a little bit so that you're more in more of an upright position, you're gonna find something where it's like, okay, when my feet are right here, this spot on the floor, I can initiate this movement. You kind of pull yourself forward a little bit. That's how the TRX works. And suddenly it's like, okay, that feels like a good, like it's engaging well. So, yeah, the band, I like where her head is at and trying to find the solution. It's just not the right one for this. I would just keep it simple and use a dumbbell. And she's got the right grip there, however. Notice she's not grabbing the handle. She's going with a grip where she just grabs the end of the band like this so she can maintain that neutral grip as opposed to, you know, a more, a pronated grip as opposed to a neutral grip. So that's correct for this exercise. So there we have it. That is episode 3. A good variety here, good mix, some new faces. So we'll be back for episode 4. I am hoping to get this video edited and posted today, and then I'm going to get out of town for about a week. So we'll pick this back up with episode 4, hopefully next week. We shall see. As always, if there are specific videos or exercises that you want to see, let me know. If you want to send me one, reach out and I will get your contact information and have you send me the video. And if it's worthy, I can use it here in this episode with your thanks. So we will wrap it up there for today. Thank you all for watching. I appreciate it. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Everybody stay safe, be good, train hard, and make every day count.